Okay. Can you hear me now? You can't hear me now?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Okay. I was like, after all
I
that
was switching
setup.
my mic to this one.
All right. Oh man, I'm so excited. This is now episode 2, everyone, of
Day two.
the now named I Can Has Design podcast. So we are so
Ugh.
excited. And it's been a couple weeks since Charles and I got together with our first episode. I do have a confession, everyone. I have been lying to you all this time, and my mom was not listening to the first episode. I just tried to make it sound like we had an audience then. But we're gonna keep doing this
Yeah.
regardless, all right? We're gonna just keep going because Charles and I have a lot of catching up to do, and we got a lot to talk about.
Mm,
Design, being dads, hence the name. If you can understand the name of the podcast, you're probably as old as we are.
yeah.
Which I just want to tell everybody, Charles named it, and I thought it was just fantastic. So, Charles, you want to explain your reasoning behind the name of the podcast?
Yeah, totally. So I think that with us thinking about creating this, I think that there's two things that we wanted to make sure we did. One was talk about design because it's what Josh and I both do. It's what we love, but also in a way make it sound like we don't take ourselves too seriously, not make it sound like we don't take ourselves too seriously. And so we wanted this to also be a place that, we're allowed to mess up, we're allowed to be raw, we're allowed to talk about things other than design, and just make it seem a bit more human. There's a lot of really great serious podcasts out there where they interview a lot of really amazing folks, and it's
Yeah.
incredible the amount of detail and things. But I think we wanted this to feel a little bit more lighthearted. So
Yeah, for sure. I love it, man. I mean, I would be flattered if any guru out there wanted to come get interviewed. But we
yeah.
have a very rigorous filtering program. You have to go fill out a very lengthy Google form. Just kidding, we have nothing yet. But
That says, "Do you want to come?" And we go,
yeah,
"Yeah, great."
we actually have very low standards. So if there's anybody out there who
Yeah,
also equally has low standards and wants to get on, sounds great.
yeah, let's do it.
I'm just so excited that we're even at step 2 here, episode 2. Like I'm just like again, super extrovert, just want to get on and just spit some words.
Yeah.
So let me bring up a couple of our topics we can talk about today. Unless you had anything else very pressing. I mean, I definitely want to talk about that Rabbit R1 thing if you haven't gotten a chance to see that.
I ordered
That
it.
is a fancy hot topic. I feel like we should definitely weave it in with our plan stuff, but also, it's like definitely want to talk about some crazy stuff. I mean, CES, of course, brought in some fascinating technology that, as we all know, can impact design as well.
Yeah,
So let me
amazing.
pretend that I'm actually signed into my software here and let me pretend that I'm prepared. It took us like what, 25 to 30 minutes to get on
Dude,
today because we don't know what the heck we're doing. So at least,
weekend was good.
yeah, weekend was nice.
Cool.
My son was sick all like 4 days in a row, so the whole weekend, and the poor guy had to miss on a birthday party he was so excited
Oh,
about. And you know when a kid
sucks.
can't go, or like even volunteers to not go, he's not doing so well. So he's
Yeah,
fine today. I think there's that flu going around.
totally. Yeah. I
So
mean, which I wasn't able to record last week because I was sick. So
yeah. Or for the political folks out there, he caught the agenda.
he
He
got, he
it
got
got to,
the
no, I'm just kidding.
agenda.
It wasn't.
That's
No,
funny.
it's not COVID or anything. I just think it's the flu. Um,
Oh yeah,
so which agenda is a mystery. All right. I'm just kidding. I don't believe in that stuff. Um,
yeah.
I used to believe in the religion of politics,
Yeah.
and then to save my marriage, I had to become politically agnostic. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a fun thing to talk about in the future. All right, so we have some cool stuff. I was just trying to distract everybody this whole time. How about your weekend? More distraction. Tell me what you guys
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, it was good. We have some friends that are leaving town permanently going to North Carolina. So we spent some time with them, which was cool. We had church on Sunday. What did we do? What else did we do? We just kind of lazied around. Honestly, Saturday was a super lazy day for us. So we got to just hang out and be a family and play video games and stuff. It was cool.
Yeah, awesome, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, let's see. I think we can kind of lead into two of these. Because I really want to talk about the R1. Did you get a chance to watch any of the videos about it? Like at least like part of that very lengthy
Yeah, I watched the whole
keynote
video.
announcement, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, and I ordered it also.
No, you did not. It
Yeah, I ordered it.
was
Yeah.
like $200, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
It
man,
was
that's
low enough.
awesome.
It was low enough to where I was like, okay, I'll try it out.
Now I must know too because you got your fancy Apple stuff. I mean, let's be honest, you've always been biased towards Apple because we both worked
Yeah,
at the Apple store. Again,
yeah.
that's our origin story. We'll be talking about more here and there, unless there's not much to talk about. But so yeah, I mean, we both love Apple stuff. I mean, that's why we work there, of course. Did you happen to get the uh, oh my gosh, old person moment here? The augmented reality headset. Oh my gosh, what do they call it?
No, 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 no.
It's
$3,500.
yeah, it's sold out. I
Yeah, yeah,
can't even
yeah.
remember the name.
Vision
Uh,
Pro.
Vision Pro. I was gonna say that.
Yes,
It
dude,
was just right
dude.
there. Yeah, that thing looks comfortable. Looks they made some
Yeah,
compromises with the battery, but
yeah.
I think design wise, as we
Hmm.
like to keep it thematic here, that looked like a pretty nice looking headset compared to the others on the market. You know, similar to your headphones you have on. Those are the AirPod Pros. Nope, not AirPod Pros.
AirPod Pod Max.
AirPod Max. Pod Max.
AirPods Max. Yeah,
AirPods
it's yeah.
Max. Man, I
The
am like,
naming's getting crazy. I mean, this is
yeah.
very yeah, standard for Apple now. They run out of names and they have to just like keep trying things.
Yeah, that's
Then you
right. I
have
got
the
the
AirPods Pro.
yeah, I have the pros
Yeah.
in my ears, and I'm calling yours what I have in my own ears. Okay.
Yeah.
This is quick. We're quickly losing people.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
so that's
Vision Pro is cool. Did you see
yeah.
too that they had a video on like the actual like manufacturing of it too? I love when Apple makes these
Oh,
videos
yeah,
because it's
those are
always
super awesome.
their machines, even the machines, the CNC machines or whatever that they're using to build the physical product are gorgeous. Like
Oh my, I know, right?
the
Yeah,
wiring, the color of like
yeah.
panels, like all these things are just like insane. It's so beautiful. And just how it's going through and like
Yep.
routing, I don't know what that's called, but
All actors
picking
on
up the
camera have to
aluminum.
look. They have to look their best, including the robots. They have to.
Yeah.
They're all
Yeah.
like Ferrari red or what? Like what you
Yeah.
said, yellow or something. Like yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah. So, anyways, the industrial design obviously is gorgeous. But I think
Yeah.
I also read an article recently by The Verge that was talking about Safari being the best app in Vision Pro right now, just because there's not like developers, I think maybe have their hands on it now.
Yeah.
But up until then, I mean, there's nothing and that's in it. So there's not a lot of apps, and I guess Safari just like works super well. And I didn't
That's
really go
cool.
through the article full time, but
It's
so
gotta
I don't know.
be
You will see.
it's got to be foundational to like the AI future, you know, where of course we'll talk
Yeah,
about the rabbit and like how interesting that is, and Vision Pro could probably play into that quite a bit. Um, yeah, and it's sold out. I forgot if I mentioned like it's just sold out. I think it was what 350,000 units is what I had read about. Gone,
which one?
just sold. The Vision
Vision.
Pro.
Yeah, yeah. And they project too that there's going to be a big aftermarket,
Oh yeah,
like push for it too because they didn't make that many units
yeah.
compared to like the iPhone or MacBook Pros or any of that stuff. So they think people are gonna buy them and then sell them for like 10K or something.
That's what they
Pretty
always do
wild.
with every product release they've ever
Yeah.
done. You and I working at the stores, right? Like
Yep. Oh yeah.
they do this on purpose. It's like a sales tactic to create scarcity. It's one of the big
Yeah.
like one of the most well-known tactics, and they purposely don't make enough. But of course, it's super smart business-wise because then they don't have to worry about over ordering inventory. So they sell through,
Yeah.
it creates scarcity. They probably always have a plan to immediately go into production for the next round, and they got decades of data that probably supports, you know, like the frequency of and like rough idea of like how many in the second, third, and fourth batch they should order. It's like they already have it planned for the year.
Yeah.
Clearly, like the smartest people, even in their sourcing pipeline, you know, to help facilitate, orchestrate the whole thing. You know, it's just it's wild. Apple knows
Yeah.
how to sell out. They're just and
Hmm.
their profit margins are crazy. No wonder they're the most valuable. I remember like a few years ago reading an article that Apple made the most profit in a single quarter than Amazon did in its entire history. So
Beautiful.
like And,
Capitalism.
and pretending to run a business with my wife. It is her business, just so everybody knows. It is actually just recently certified women owned and operated. So I try to do my best to not be the spouse and come in and ruin the show. So much to talk about that. But yeah, it's oh my gosh, now I already lost my train of thought on that one. The yeah, just running a business, super hard to constantly monitor profit margins for sure. And so
Yeah.
I admire so much how they can sell things, multiple product categories for so much money and profit tremendously. I don't think they'll ever make things in the US just for that very reason. Like they just know how to get things made overseas and make them profitable. All right, well,
Yeah.
I'm a nerd on numbers. Although I'm a designer over many years, I've become a nerd on numbers because it's foundational for UX design. You have to be able to be comfortable to look into analytics. And I think just naturally going from that starting point, it was easier for me. I also wasn't afraid of math in high school, but easier for me to venture out into other numbers related areas of business like accounting and
Mm,
finance. Financial controlling is really fun. I actually kind of like that a lot, but another topic another time. Um, Again, this is about design, not about finance strategy. But I want to circle back obviously to, I'm just going like after tangent, but I want to circle back to talking about this R1 thing, especially that you bought it. I want to hear more about the Rabbit R1 and what led you to buying it, of course. And yeah,
yeah.
just kind of let's hear your riff.
So Rabbit, like a bunch of other companies, I think is kind of a first initial step into, call it a 3 to 5 year kind of end goal. And it's the same for the Vision Pro, in my view. The Vision Pro is like a very cool first step. Does it have a terrible battery life? Yeah. Is it going to have like all these incredible, is it Minority Report? No. Like there are all these things that it isn't yet. And yet Apple decided to jump in the game at some point and make something as best as it could. It's the same with the Rabbit R1. I think that their goal, and this is a big debate right now too, and we can kind of talk through this, is that they want to get people away from like an app-based environment where
Yes.
like on these, I can go into a billion different apps and basically get lost and it can distract me and take all my time. And so what they want to do is they want to take AI mixed with an appless environment and provide like a really, really quick, efficient experience. They're
Yep.
using, instead of an LLM, they're still using an LLM, I'm guessing, but they call it the large action model, the LAM. And what they're saying with that
Mhm.
is that this can actually execute things based on your requests. So instead of saying, like what was the like 50th president of the United States or whatever, you can be like, I want to go on a trip to Bali and I want to stay here. Can you
Yeah.
book me a hotel and a flight? And
Yeah, I saw
now
that part of the video. It's amazing.
yeah, there are a variety of things where people will not um um people will not trust a device yet, right? Even with Uber ride, for instance, like grab me one of the examples was like grab me an Uber ride, and people were like reviewing it afterward, and they were like, what kind of car is it getting me? Like how whoops, like how long
What's that, dude?
yeah, how long is it going to take to get here? Like there's all these details that people want to know when they're calling a car to come and get them.
Mhm.
And because this has no interface, essentially, like it can show, very minimal design iconography and then mostly type and text. People there's going to be a trust barrier there with a lot of the interactions. And so it's the same with like they did an example where they put this thing up to the fridge, and it has a camera on it, and they say, hey, look in here and like tell me what I can make, like give me a
Yeah.
recipe for something I can make. And it's the most beautifully like constructed and composed fridge you've ever seen,
Yeah, I
right?
know,
and
right?
and
Yeah.
everyone was saying like it's in the first like 4 inches of the fridge, everything is just laid out perfectly
Yeah.
so that the camera on the R1 can see everything.
Yeah. Were they trying
And
to
so
fool
it's,
like we don't have this processed foods and packaging in there, right?
oh,
Like
dude,
I like to
exactly.
just keep my broccoli out on a shelf and
Yeah.
in a slab of meat that's curing
It
overnight.
was,
Like just come
dude,
on.
so funny. So funny. And so again, like I think this is like the first step towards a future where um hopefully one, the device gets smaller. So right now they're saying like this is something you can use like without a phone, but it's a phone like sized device. Like it's big. And so if you had your phone and that thing on you, like now you're already like, oh, this is a little bit too much. You have to put a SIM card in it in order for it to have always connectivity. Otherwise, you'd use
Mhm.
Wi-Fi. So I think there's a couple of things. I think it's experimental. I think they want people to get it. They want people to try it. They want to understand the types of prompts and things that people are putting in, the type of actions. I think that's the main thing is that this almost feels like a research tool. People are going to like
Oh
it. They're going
yeah,
to have
man.
it, but they're going to use it as a research tool to see why and how people use it. And then from there, they can go, okay, great. We made it this big now. It can whatever go in your pocket super easy or in your wallet. And you can
Mhm.
just like ask it things all the time. It can do things for you quick. And maybe it partners with your phone. I don't know. But anyways, so
Yeah,
we'll
well,
see. We'll see kind of what they
just
do with it.
yeah, just like even the first fanciest iPhones, they were still tethered to computers a lot for,
Yeah.
backing up. There was a lot of needs for that.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's an interesting device. I look at it though, like design wise, does not look fancy at all. Like, what's up with this red color? I don't know. They like it's obviously weird, but and I can't wait for other tech juggernauts to enter that game. I know Apple's probably already been working on it, and they'll have something that's just gonna blow everybody's socks off when they finally bring Siri into 2024. That is the year now, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they finally put some real AI juice behind it. I think they'll just make it a smash hit with hardware. But this is still
Yeah.
a fascinating device in regards to like the potential. I mean, like the whole notion of just no apps sounds so foreign to everybody. And it's funny, like I think finally society's gotten really accustomed to that. And now it's like another major paradigm shift into a new way of interacting with technology. And then
Yeah.
folks like you and I, as we age, are going to be like, how do you use this thing? Well, but also surprisingly, you just speak to it, right? It's like kind of like how they sold the iPhone. You just use what you're born with, your fingers. And
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
like this thing is so cool because I think it's going to make it much more accessible. A lot more people will be able to use it because we're already trained from the get-go to just speak.
Mhm.
Obviously, with the exception of folks who probably can't speak well, like that's tough. But until we get chips in our brain, which my wife is already like, I'm all about it. I'm
Oh
like,
my
you're
gosh.
crazy, but because I really think that's imminent in regards to this type of next step, which, probably for the next 10 or so years will be something like this, 10, 15 years. Who knows? Who knows what the future is with this rapid adoption of AI? But yeah, it's such a cool device where to the idea of just like taking away apps and just it does all the brokering through AI and whatnot between different technologies is like just absolutely cool. And to remind everybody again, uh re, friction is the enemy in UX design are constantly trying to reduce the friction for users to get to the goal, completing tasks, doing what they need to do to be successful, right? So always thinking about context. And boy, is this going to drastically reduce friction. Although the funny part in their video, I will say, was when the CEO is using it and like there's long pauses. I don't know if you saw like the little bit of
Yeah.
captions at the bottom, like fast forwarded for I don't know, efficiency or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
they said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
it's clearly it takes a bit of time to compute, but what it can get done is really, really cool. And so I can't wait to see competition enter and spark innovation as a result. That's the beauty of our market economy is that, once you have competitors, the customer always wins. They get a
Yeah.
much better experience. And I'm fascinated. I can't wait for you to get one. I should probably get one too
Yeah.
before I
I mean,
become obsolete.
yeah. And speaking of efficiency, I mean, the reason why a lot of these things take a while too is because they've made it in such a way where you can say, get me a trip to Bali and
Yeah.
what do I want? Uh, and also let us have like, a getaway during that time. Make
that
me
part's
like
awesome.
it, like they understand how humans actually have conversations with people, and so
Yeah.
it has to process through all of this, like, empty language too. And so you don't have to, a lot of the reasons why Siri and Alexa and Google Assistant are tough right now is because you have to be very specific in how you tell it something. Google,
Mm.
I'd say, was probably more flexible because it's like using the internet and it's trying to understand, like, oh, you want to know George Clooney's age, like, okay, great.
Yeah.
But most of these are very constricted in the way that you can actually talk to them. And so with the R1, they're priding themselves on you being able to speak to it like you would speak to a human. And then
Yeah.
therefore, I think it's having to do a bunch of extra processing to go through that and then come out and spit out something that's recognizable and actually useful in the end. And like you said, hopefully impactful for the user and betters their life in some way. And then the design, I disagree because I love the design. It's made by Teenage Engineering, which is an insane
Okay.
cool industrial design house. They make a lot of it's very quirky, like retro, almost like old video game, arcade game type. They have a very specific style. They've partnered with IKEA. They've
Okay.
made a bunch of like different PC housing and stuff like that. But they also made the Playdate, if you know what that is. It's a little video
So
game console that's made with an e-ink screen.
no, I
And
haven't really.
it's
It sounds
super
familiar, but
cool.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. It's not coming to mind. But
You have to
clearly a
check it out.
polarizing design. I mean, I guess I'm just
Yeah.
super
Oh, 100.
opinionated and denounce it right away. But I
Oh,
mean,
that's fine. That's fine.
now you're bringing in all these other brands. All of a sudden, I am swayed into
It's,
being much more open-minded.
it's
If
why a
you said
podcast is great. We
IKEA,
can
then
disagree.
clearly you
Yeah.
agree to disagree. That's a polarizing design, kind of like the
Yeah.
Cybertruck. It's got some
Yes.
opinions,
Yes.
and I don't know. Maybe it's just so jarringly different than what we're so used to with like the cold metal looks of a lot of
Yeah.
generations of
This
smartphones.
stuff,
Like
right?
it's either
This
black
is
or
so.
it's metal, or like
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
slight tinge
Yeah.
of metal. Put a tiny bit of aqua in there, but it's really
Yeah.
like, it's been virtually the same, I guess, with the exception. What were the ones that, speaking of the industrial design and like process, what was the iPhone that they showed the painting of it? It was like a blue. They had several colors. It was like the not the is it SR or SE? I think it's SE. XR. Shoot. iPhone XR? I think it was XR, where they had like
Mhm.
the fancy backs and they like different colors and it was a fascinating thing to watch it like spinning and getting painted and whatnot. But
Yeah.
um
So cool.
yeah, fun stuff. So,
But
but yeah, so that's a cool, it's still a cool product in the sense of what it can do. I mean, us humans, we'd be so judgmental on the looks of things, like judging a book by its cover, but I implore everybody, especially designers, to really take note, like watch that video, be like Charles and order it. I need to get one too
Mhm.
and play around with it because it feels like the future, although only time will tell and only, adoption of it will we start to know. But you brought up a good point about research, right? So again, with UX design of the UX side of design is the more the R side, research and design, right? So a lot of the research side is so important. I like to say it's not first to market, it's first to learn. The fact that they're the first ones to do such a paradigm shift like this into just more like
Mhm.
something that can do the brokering between apps, like it could even like read the UI and like go through real quick and like do what it needs to do. Like it could act, I think that's what they were saying. Like it can actually go through apps and like get tasks done. Crazy stuff. Like get technology or apps to talk together. It's just so wild. So
Yeah. And there's Humane came out with the device recently too, that the AI pin.
yes, I
That's
saw
another
that one.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one's like, see, this is the difference between these two, which is interesting to see. That one's $600. And they pivoted very quickly when AI was introduced. They pivoted to making whatever they were making an AI piece of hardware. Whereas I think original, like maybe they were thinking about using AI, but probably just a different implementation. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's one. And then this other kid who's like super smart and he's like 21 is I'll have to look it up, but he's making one as well. And I think his is like around $600 too. And it's like this thing, this necklace thing that you wear, and you can basically kind of the same as the R1, you can kind of ask it almost anything, but it's specifically for helping, like, I don't know, I know one aspect of it was to help people with like ADHD remember things that are important. And so
Oh yeah,
like
that sounds
it
great.
would yeah, it sounds great, right? It would listen to you throughout the day, listen to people you're talking to, all these things, and then say like, hey, don't forget to follow up with that person, or hey, you have an action item that you need to send that email to that person. Like, so it's, yeah, interesting. And that it's one dude like developing it on his own, which
Oh
is
my
crazy.
gosh.
Yeah, it's
I
insane.
just I just can't wait for things like this to roll out. I'm already so fascinated like using things like ChatGPT and have you ever played around with GPTs by the way? I mean, you
Uh,
work with Microsoft or you work for Microsoft. It's almost like a requirement you dabble with these tools, right? Like, do you guys are you using GPTs specifically? Have you tried to create one yourself, like anything like that?
I haven't tried to create one, but yeah, we definitely use them at work all the time.
Yeah, my wife's business, we try to use some. She's really savvy with AI. Like if not for her,
Oh,
I would become
amazing.
obsolete real fast. Like she is all about it because she's very operations focused and all about trying to make some kind of efficiency, whether it's product development or just like writing long emails or just so many cool stuff. But I don't want to. I mean, I feel like ChatGPT has probably been talked about so much already in other podcasts. Like maybe we can talk about like future changes and whatnot, but I don't know. GPTs, to me, I think everybody should try out because it's another paradigm shift in development, I would say. And where you can create these things without knowing code. It's like
Mhm.
you can just make your own GPT bot in a sense where I see the vision behind it is for sure in the near term, maybe not like near term, like 2 months, but like maybe within 2 years we will start to be able to create like our own board of advisors in the sense of you can now when it comes to creating like a like for the past year, let's say when you go to ChatGPT and you're trying to have it do something, you have to preface it, you have to set it up, you have to like prompt it, right? You have
Yeah,
to input the story behind what like I want you to be an accountant who has 20 years experience and I want you to, tell me blah 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 like this. And then you can ask simple inquiries after that, right? But what a GPT is essentially just a preset of that. Where you could just kind of rinse and repeat. So if you wanted, let's say, like a
huh.
lawyer advisor, although, um, don't take my legal advice on this, anybody, full disclosure. I don't know if you knew this. I'm not a lawyer. I know, right? Like it's such a shocker. I sound like I could be one, but I'm not. So don't take my legal advice in any sense whatsoever. Full disclosure. Although there's probably not anybody even listening yet to even want to sue me, but I just thought I'd throw it out there. Um, let's say hypothetically you can make a lawyer advisor, and let's say you wanted to translate like California law. Well, you just pre-program it one time, like one prompt or set of prompts to create it and you can say oh I want you to be a lawyer who's 20 years experience. I want you to I want you to specialize in California law, specifically trademarking and or like labor laws or things like that, right? Like so
Yeah.
it becomes very specific and then you can then just say what you need from that, right? So you can say, oh, I need can you help me? Can you just review this contract that somebody just gave me? It's a California contract. Can you, it has something to do with, let's say, trademark. I don't know, hypothetical. And, again, it'll just go through that and it will do whatever you need it to. And with the lens, the eye of the specialist and ears you know, metaphorically speaking, I guess.
Mhm.
So it is pretty mind blowing what we've used it on the marketing side to kind of advise us on like here's kind of where we're at and what do you think marketing genius GPT and it spits out some pretty cool stuff. I've also used it on another client project on like just understanding like what's the best rollout for this React
Right.
headless e-commerce environment we're trying to do and I
Yeah.
kind of try as a designer it's so challenging to like work with engineers and developers to try to do such a huge migration and
Mhm.
it was awesome. So I was like, "Can you give me some tips on like best rollout of this?" And it's like, "Oh, well, you can use React components now in your current website." I'm like, "Oh, that's fascinating." So I passed that to the PM and trying to see like if that plants any ideas on a better strategic rollout. Designers, yes,
Wow.
can be very instrumental in a rollout over into a whole new tech stack because it will definitely impact the UI, the user experience in many different ways. And then hopefully that's the reasoning behind such a shift. And so that kind of leads into another topic, and we can expand on this in future episodes of like kind of the whole reason behind the basis of talking about all this was to maybe set up like a discussion around, do we even really need developers? And also, what do you
Mm,
think is happening to our career as designers with these devices like the
mm,
Rabbit R1, right? Like,
mhm,
of course, Apple is appeasing their crowd with some UI potential in the Vision Pro, but the Rabbit R1 seems very limited in the UI. At least in the like you obviously there's design needs in the what the UI presents as results, but it's dramatically cut down
mhm.
the ecosystem
Yeah.
that developers have built billions and billions of dollars of revenue in the App Store, for example. And then, it's like where do we all exist in these devices going forward?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting because I know I have thoughts on the developer designer thing too. Um, I think as far as our jobs are concerned, I think that one is I think the best advice anyone can give and have some people have given me is that you constantly have to be learning new things because if you don't and you stay stale, then you'll get left behind.
Of
And so
course.
in this world of AI and I mean even VR and AR and things like that, like getting to know the landscape at least a little bit so you're well aware of the language general language that's spoken around any of these models and platforms, um even general UI and kind of like interactive UX, behaviors, principles, whatever, just like having a foundational level of all these things I think is just super key because I think yeah, as designers our world is changing, right? um Everything from these types of hardware, all the way to like visual language of things because younger generations and younger designers are coming in and they're making things, bright and colorful and almost like non-designed and people love it and everyone likes it, and maybe people like us don't always love exactly what they're doing, but even that part of design is changing too, where we're
Are
kind
you
of
are
go
you are you alluding towards the brutalist UI movement going on right now? Is that what you're talking
yeah.
about? Because it's
Oh
hard for
yeah,
me.
dude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy. And some of these people are so talented too. Like even I may not love some of the things that come out, but even just the execution of them, I'm like so impressed.
Mhm.
It's like beautiful the way that they create things. And what things like that lend themselves to too. And sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent, but
No worries.
what they lend themselves to is like the fashion industry, the music industry, like all these industries that are hyper expressive already in like a very physical and digital form. This kind of design movement really plays super well into that. Whereas
Mhm.
before you have all these like, digital product designers and stuff, like a lot of us, which is cool. We're doing a lot of work that's like necessary and, whatever. I think the thing that I don't want to happen though is for digital design to become so boring that we all end up working for just really old SaaS companies, a
Mhm.
software as a service, in case anyone was wondering.
Mhm.
That we don't end up working for a bunch of SaaS companies and we actually get to do things that are really creative and fun. And the reason why I feel that way too is because like I grew up doing design when like the iPhone started. And so like
Yeah.
I got into
Self-taught
mobile
everyone. This
design.
guy. This guy is self-taught. I love it.
Another opinion that I have about like college and school and all these things too.
I got opinions too,
But
man. Yeah,
yeah,
let's
yeah,
talk more another time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Sounds cool.
But yeah, so I think just with all that happening, I just think that there's, I don't know, there's a lot of opportunity as long as we're learning and becoming better at what we do and learning new things that come into the landscape and into the field of design. I think
Hmm.
that we'll get to be a part of that cool creativity. But there's also the side of things that for me as a dad and someone who's 36, um,
Oh, he told her. He told you guys.
being,
You
yeah,
heard it.
you got it. You got my age. S-
He's old. Just
Be,
kidding. I'm older.
being being able to do super creative things. I love design and I love working on those things, but design is no longer my identity. My identity
Yeah.
is being a father, it's being a husband, it's
Hmm.
being someone who loves other people. Like those are my primary identities.
Hmm.
And then design comes second to that. And so there is also this tension of, well, as long as I have a design job, because I want it to be a design job, not another type of job,
Hmm.
and it can take care of my life and my family's life, like resource wise and financially, then like that's okay. Then I'm fine, you know?
Yeah. And
But there's
you're
still,
working for a great company right now. I mean,
yeah,
they're
I
being so
thank
smart.
God, dude.
What, how do you
Yeah.
pronounce the CEO's name again? I always like read it and
Satya
Satya.
Nadella.
Satya Nadella. Yeah, I was reading just recently like, how that guy just supercharged the heck out of that company over the past 10 years, man. Like they just recently
Mm,
surpassed Apple on most valuable company in the world again. Like they
yeah,
kind of were neck
crazy.
and neck a few years ago. I think like right when the pandemic hit or something like that, like right before,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit after. But they yeah, they so congrats to you, sir. You're part of that team and made it happen.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. I would go celebrate, even though it's,
It's a big company.
yeah, it's a big company. You know, we have 500,000 employees. Like it's
Oh
so
my
many.
gosh, so many, dude.
But
So
you were
many.
a contributor of that change. You
Mm.
know, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna keep butchering his name, and I just want to apologize to him
Sa
directly.
Satya.
Satya, Satya.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
Satya. Last
Nadella.
name Nadella. Okay.
Yep.
See, everybody, it shows what I know. I can't even pronounce people's names right. So bad. Satya Nadella. I'm gonna try my best because out of respect, for sure, I need to
Yeah.
try my best to get that name right. But Satya Nadella, and he's just like, and this is another thing to talk about again is like leadership, right? Like he's just the guy calling the arms, right? He's announcing a call to arms, and it's people like yourself who are, heeding the call, listening, and um, getting it done, right? So without folks
Yeah.
like yourself, even if you are one of hundreds of thousands, I'm assuming, of employees in Microsoft, I mean, that's really cool. And congratulations, man. That's something to definitely brag about. Get yourself a
Yeah.
steak
Thanks,
dinner,
dude.
you know.
I
So
appreciate it.
to eat steak. So
And, yeah, I eat
I think
steak.
you said that in the last episode. I'm just forgetting.
Oh
Excuse me.
yeah,
It's not you, it's me. I promise if I
I
forget.
I eat steak.
Good, good, good. Because I
Um
love steak. Oh yeah, I remember I talked about the funny parody. I was like the Sweaty Beef Podcast.
oh yeah, yeah.
That would be my second thing is that was my talent I tried to master during pandemic was steaks. And
Yeah.
I think I've done all right. And now I'm on to burgers. Trying burgers are hard. They're real hard, man. Like they
They're
are
tough, dude. That's tough.
it is like, I got an A/B test. And then, I gotta use like the UX design fundamentals in the process. Like, all right, we'll try one salted the night before versus not or versus salted right before. We'll try one side salted, and this one will cook this long, this one will cook on cast iron versus grill. It's like,
Such a
yeah,
nerd.
I'm a beef nerd for sure. But
Okay, wait. So
um
let me put the question back on you. What do you
sure.
think about the same thing? All like AI coming in, with all this hardware. Where does design
Yeah.
go from here?
Well, I think always being up to date on the latest emerging platforms is paramount to your
Mm,
success in your career, in any career. But for sure, especially in design, we must be up to date. And that's why we talk a lot about tech here, especially this episode, is that I don't think people understand like the changes that are coming. I'm I'm actually I this is where I'm getting older. I'm actually a little bit concerned, a little worried. It's okay. I think it's healthy to
yeah.
be like the ego mind is always trying to protect us, and I think it's healthy to kind of listen to that sometimes and just be like, should I just completely go all in and embrace AI, or should I be a little bit cautious? I think that's important to be a tiny bit cautious and um but embrace the change too. It's already here. It's not, I wish I could say it's coming. But when it comes to your design career, what things I'm doing right now are for sure trying to stay up to date on tools and the trends that they tend to kind of be the second step behind where the big changes are in tech paradigms. Like Figma, for example, making a lot of great strides to close the gap into the one product team tool. Although I think they, in my
Yeah.
opinion, I feel like they, since the acquisition with Adobe fell through, I think they should double down on two avenues, which is like a Figma web version and a Figma native version. I think those are
Mm.
very different, very differently nuanced uh designer experiences, I guess you could say. Like because in web you are very much more focused on the box model. So it's just a different kind of mentality and skills like and verbiage to follow and
Oh, I
developer
see.
specific.
You're
You know,
saying
like
Figma, like web design and
yeah, they're
Figma. Because
yeah,
I'm
they're
like, they
trying
have
to
a web and a native, but you're saying a native
oh
app and a
sorry. Yeah, to
web
be
site. Okay,
specific,
okay,
I
okay.
meant for as specifically designed tools for designing for web.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it.
Ah, you got me there. Yes. There is a web version. Obviously, that's where Figma like really took off a lot because they had like a web collaborative platform. But excuse me, I meant
Yeah.
like for designing for web, which is funny because they have a web tool, and at least to my understanding, I haven't come across like an easy to use. Maybe there's some third
Mm.
party tools I'm just not knowing yet, but like to convert it to web much easier. But that's where you brought up Framer, and I was looking into that. Framer pivoted into a web design specific tool, right? And they used to be trying to go head to head with Sketch, XD, and
Hmm.
Figma in the design tool for all kind of a thing. And they even try to get niche in React, which is an
Yeah.
important component-based framework, ideal for atomic-based design. There's a great book called Atomic Design. If you're not familiar with it, it's important if you guys want to get savvy with design systems in this day and age. So yes, to answer your question, stay up to date on tech. Tech is well, and also go where the stay up to date where the money's going, and the money's going into AI right now.
Yeah.
And it's not just hype, in my opinion, because his, check out if you Google the hype cycle, you'll kind of see like how it tends to be in history, where there's a lot of hype, like big, like cryptocurrency. There's a lot of hype that goes around that, and then it crashes and stuff, and then it kind of slowly picks up over decades, usually.
Yeah.
AI is not a new notion; it's been around for a long time, and it seems to be on that growth, that steady growth pattern at this moment. Although still a lot of hype around it, so just be a little cautious in the sense of exactly which platforms you go to, but something like Rabbit R1 sounds intriguing, though it probably needs some maturity before I would probably step
Yeah.
into it. I'm not like the
Yeah.
early adopter type, like,
Yeah.
although I'm a quick starter, I usually kind of wait for, I don't know, what feels like where there's design shaping up around it. And it's
Yeah.
usually like in the early stages of technology, it's just engineers and money.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
and they just kind of throw concepts together, and then us designers are like, ew, ew,
Yep.
we need to come
Yep.
in, clean that up for you, right? And
Yeah.
that's again where we see companies like Apple is so design culture heavy, and Microsoft, by the way, of course, like picking up a lot in that too. But
They're getting better.
they enter in later usually because they wait for the ugly. Sorry to go back on your Rabbit R1 and call it ugly. But no, it's not it's not that bad. I think it's growing on me, kind of like the Cybertruck, but they enter in later because they see there's a big need to make it amazing. Just to the eye, but also functionality. And design is always function over form. I think Apple does good in both of those. Um, but I'm excited to see where things go. Personally, in my career, I love freelance. I will always say it's
Yeah.
my favorite. It's the best because I know the tax game. And I think everybody should learn that because if you learn taxes, you will see how much you're paying on that paycheck, and it's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. But I'm sticking to freelance, and I think that the AI realm is definitely on my radar, and I'm just kind of
Yeah.
like waiting for the UI potential, and Rabbit R1 is at least establishing a new paradigm, like platform paradigm that I can see designers being involved, although very few of us. This is where I
Yeah.
think AI is disrupting faster than I even
Hmm.
imagined. I was like, oh, all the farmers be out of a job right away. Or like, but I don't know if you see that South Park episode, if you watch South Park, but my brothers always bring it up. They're just crude dudes when we get together. It's fun. But they like to talk about the South Park episode where the handymen become billionaires because AI comes in and disrupts all the white collar jobs, and It's really funny.
Dude.
I did watch it because they made me watch it. I don't really watch South Park, but when I do, I laugh my head off. And um that's it's just a it's very thought provoking though to think like people who are in such jobs may not ever might be one of the last to get threatened by AI because it's certainly like
Yeah.
robots will then eventually be doing just
Yeah.
about everything. But like right now, the I think the immediate disruptors are on people who work on computers, period.
Hmm. Yeah.
And developers can already use ChatGPT and tools to help with code. And yeah, if you're not a designer using AI to your favor, like I was just playing around more with chat or with Photoshop's generative AI tool just to kind of fix up one of my wife's, photos for her website. I just did some updates and um, that was amazing. I'm like, put a plant here. It just gives me three options. Like the efficiency is mind blowing, just absolutely mind blowing. And
Yeah.
that's no
So
wonder.
cool.
That's where the money's flowing. The money flows
Yeah.
where people save time, and
Yeah.
technology is supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so that's
think
my long-winded answer. I hope it
I love it.
sparks some
I love
interest,
it.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what's another thing I wanted to add too is it also depends on your personality too. It depends on who
Mhm.
you are as a person. So if you're someone who's like well like loves people, like Josh and I are both extroverts, so we
Yep.
get along with people. When I moved up to San Francisco with Melanie, I got to know a ton of people in the industry, and that's just because of who I am. I wasn't really trying to be like a networker or a connector or whatever. I just was like, oh, I'm fascinated by what you do. Like, oh, you're a leader at this company. Like, oh, I'd love to talk with you. That sounds amazing. Like,
Mhm.
um, so like if you're a good connector and stuff like that too, what you can also start to see through all of these landscapes is niches, like very, very
Mhm.
particular skill sets where you can kind of go in and fit in this like little niche and make a bunch of money too. So a couple
Yes.
examples of this is like one, I think that a lot of younger designers are kind of figuring these things out, like this whole movement, one of a subscription based like design agency is one where like this one guy Brett is charging
Yes.
$5,000 a month and basically unlimited designs, aka like he works on one or two things a month. Probably he just works on one thing at a time, and charges them 5,000
Wow.
bucks, and then
I,
he has like I don't even know, more than 20 clients or something like that, so he's making like 2 million bucks a year.
what's funny
And
about that is it's just an agency. It's just a repackaged agency.
I mean, I guess, right? Like, but it's also they're taking advantage of the fact that they're making it a subscription, right? So and they're giving
Yeah,
them
as an
a
agency does.
pause.
They
Yeah,
charge you a monthly retainer.
yeah,
It's the
yeah,
same
yeah.
thing.
Right, right. But they're really smart about like integrating Stripe into it, right? So
Yeah.
literally it's on an app and it's on an actual subscription. So like you don't have to reach out with an invoice, and you have to probably send that in so that they can
True that.
record it and taxes and stuff. But
True that. Yeah.
all it is like the company knows that like that money's just going to get taken out of their account, so they just like send in design tasks. Brett doesn't meet with them except for once when they first come on to
Yeah. We should for
a
sure
project.
expand on this one. I like this topic a lot,
Dude,
actually.
it's a good, okay.
Because I
And
have a lot of agency experience working in them and with them,
yeah,
both hiring them, working with them alongside in companies I worked internally as an employee. So that'll
all
be
right,
fun. Let me put that in our backlog of stuff to
yeah.
talk about.
And what's cool about things like that too is they've found this niche where they can take this, whatever you're saying, agency model. They can just basically do a subscription. It's a one person quote unquote agency. It's just one dude. He's just doing design work for these companies, charges them this monthly fee, and then based on that monthly fee you get provided X number of services. They're calling it a productized service.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
in
you
this,
brought that
yeah,
up last time. It's
yeah.
kind of like I actually know a couple. There's Pickle, Design Pickle,
Yeah, correct.
and
That
then there's
is correct.
also
That's one he mentioned too.
one I've been getting hit up about on ads because I actually like their ads. Maybe that's why they just keep sending them to me. But it's a Super Side, I want to say.
Yeah, super.
Have you seen
Yeah,
that one too? That one's
yep,
kind of
seen
cool.
that one
So,
too.
and I'm like, this is if it walks like a duck, looks like a duck, Talks like a duck. Wait, am I getting that right? It's a duck. That's the funniest thing about it is it still screams agency to me. But let's talk more about
Yeah,
that
we'll have to
because
talk.
I
We'll
want
have
to
to
get
talk more
more.
about it.
I want to get more familiar and like
Yeah,
compare these sort of like newer emerging services and compare that with traditional agencies more. And I have a lot of things I can bring to the table as far as my experience in directly billing clients and doing
yeah,
retainers and stuff, and like how I can even automate it in a similar fashion. But I actually also am super fascinated with possibly doing a similar business myself. It's like I'm actually very
you
intrigued
should.
because it could be a next level thing for my freelance career. So really, really cool. I think we got a lot of good stuff today, unless you had anything pressing, hot news or anything, or
One last thing.
sure, yeah.
So speaking of the niche things, the subscription model is one. I also have a buddy named Stefan in Germany, and I think we talked about this too. He is an icon designer, and that is it. So his name is Icon Work, and he literally makes icons for companies, and that is his niche. He makes icons for companies. So like this one of his big
How
clients was
we that's
Verizon,
funny.
and he made 1,000 icons for them. And I can't, say these things over the podcast, but he charges so much to do it.
That's the
And it's
funniest
amazing
thing.
because when you hit a niche where basically um it's so cool because a startup is not going to get custom icons, right? That is not a good investment for them. It doesn't make
No,
sense for them
yeah,
to
I use
pay 10, 20, 30K for custom icons when
yeah.
what they're trying to do is get product
Yeah,
market
I use
fit.
a Figma plugin for most icon needs. I think it's called
Yeah,
Icons 8 or something like
yeah,
that.
it doesn't matter, right?
I'm
But
not getting paid to mention that, by the way,
yeah,
but
but
we
for
should.
Verizon, who has X number of brand equity already, and all they want to do is add another layer of brand equity onto their brand, something that says,
Hmm.
hey, this is Verizon made,
Hmm.
then they're willing to spend, 20 to 50K on a custom icon set because to
Yeah.
them, it's pennies. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah,
So
and
you
they may
hit
not
a
have
really
designers on
cool
staff.
niche.
That's I love that too. Help me take a note of that. Like that's cool. Like very niche, like gosh, it's not just design as a service as I have it like this
No,
is kind of like potential title for future episode, but like design as a service, but also yeah, subscription based design, but like niche
yep,
design services.
yep.
And I'd love to hear more about that. Maybe what such as was there a name to that business or no? Did you want to plug in your
Icon
friend's business?
icon work. W E
Icon.
R yeah, WERK. Icon
Okay,
work.
cool. It's like one word, like one of those things. Well, if anybody
Yeah,
wants
it's
to
one
search
word.
him up, I'm sure you'll find him. But
Yeah,
we should definitely,
he's incredible.
yeah, let us know if he's willing for us to expand more on that. Like, it sounds really cool. I love doing this podcast. I love learning where I should probably go in my own career too. Like, this is really fascinating stuff because I need to
Yeah.
start. I want to start marketing to get into like a niche. Something, and I'm trying to find where I feel like I want to go. This is very intriguing. And I love
Yeah.
my favorite is teaching, learning by teaching. And I'd love to kind of soak this up and we can expand on that on probably next time. It sounds really, really
Sound
cool, especially with the
yeah, sounds
timing of
amazing.
like, yeah, with Superside and all those ads I've been seeing. But their ads are fantastic. All right. Well, thanks, Charles. I think we got a lot of good stuff today. We got a good like 40-50 minute episode today again, man. Like we just riff
I'm
and talk
stoked.
the whole time. I
Oh, it's
love it.
so easy. It's so easy to
Yeah,
talk this long.
if anybody's actually listening and they want us give us any feedback, if it's too long, too short, we'd love to hear anything anytime. We have a website name registered, just not a website yet. So it's icanhasdesign.com, and maybe it doesn't just end with a podcast, like maybe we have other things, some merch and stuff that we'll put up there too. Like that sounds really cool. And probably have means like if you want to contact Charles or myself for any work, because
Yeah.
that's a little bit of why we're doing this too, because we would love to just kind of become more marketable people in general. And yeah, so if you've heard this and you love it, please let us know. Or if you hate it, please let us know. We want to know if anybody cares. Because I care, right? Do you care, Charles?
Me too. I definitely care.
All right. Well, I'm so excited,
I
man.
love this.
Look forward to the next one. And yeah, we're gonna put these on YouTube also, right? So
Yep.
That's actually something I picked up was trending this year for 2024 was not just putting audio on a podcast, but also putting the video recording, which at first we weren't going to do. But I'm like, who doesn't want to see my boring background?
Why not?
This is the most uninteresting background
Oh my
ever.
gosh, it's
I
such
got HAL
it's such a
9000 up
it's
here
such
looking
a
at my every move.
hodgepodge.
Yeah. Look at a
Oh
poster of a
my
lion.
gosh,
Like it's just really
dude.
funny still life
Birds
behind
of
me.
paradise. Oh
Yeah,
my
it makes no
gosh.
sense. It's just a
So
horrible
good.
angle. So I mean I love your sound studio too, man.
Yeah.
It's a big
My
change from the last time.
my
Well,
dungeon.
well, thanks again, man.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure, and yeah, we'll sync up hopefully next week or two here and get the next one out for you guys. All right,
Thanks,
thanks a lot.
Josh. See you
Yeah,
later,
man.
man.
All right, thanks. You too. All right, see ya.